Canada isn't the only housing market hitting extreme and absurd levels at this time. We can see the froth building in China and Australia, as well as the complete and obvious fraud rears its ugly head from the shadows and into the light. Another subprime crisis has emerged. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we are going to talk about this issue. I want to connect that in with a few others. Let's begin by talking about this catastrophic disaster, which is in fact imminent. We're looking at Altair Asset Management hands back cash to clients, citing a looming correction. How often do you see that? They usually double down. They usually go on and take the money and run. But this time, they're feeling the guilt. This is an Australian asset manager. And essentially what has happened is they've taken it all, given it back to the clients. They've taken all their fees, everything. Take it all back. And why? Specifically stating that they have returned hundreds of millions of dollars back to their clients. There's an impending property market calamity and the overvalued and dangerous time in this cycle. As a company, small, medium, large, doesn't matter, you are always worried about profits, increasing profits. And right now, the boom is continuing. It's getting better. If you're worried about just profits, right now, it's an excellent time. But this particular company has decided that at some point in the near future, of course, they're never going to be able to predict the top. At some point in the near future, there's going to be a disastrous event. Let's get out now, give everyone their money back. They're happy because they've made money. And let's just call it quits right now. That's very, very unusual to see this. Giving up management and performance fees, handing back cash from investments managed by us is a seminal decision. However, preserving clients' assets is what all fund managers should, let's be very clear about that, should put before their own interests. This is amazing to see this. You never see this type of information. And it's really good to hear that at least somebody out there has a good conscience. Maybe there's something else going on, I don't know, but at least taking it at face value. This is part of the same article. Let me tell you that I've never been more certain of anything in my life. I mean, that's bold. I'm absolutely certain we are in a bubble in this property market. And I mean, I'm reading that, but that might as well be my words, that might as well be your words as well. It's so clear. Look around. The most important indicator, a lot of people deny it still. I don't understand why. The most important indicator, how much does the average person earn, or household income? You can use that one. Versus how much does the average price of a home cost? To me, that's the number one way to determine a bubble or not. And it has gone, I don't even know the word, whatever is beyond extreme. It's gone into cartoon levels. Mortgage fraud is endemic, it's systemic, it's just terrible what's going on when you've got 30-year-olds who have never seen a property downturn before, borrowing up to 80%, if you think about that, to buy 3 or 4 apartments. It's a bubble. And you don't need to be in asset management, you don't need a degree in finance to figure it out. A few basic charts, a few numbers that you need to keep an eye on, and you'll know the situation. That's why a lot of people constantly criticizing myself all the time about very, very small things. Look, I'm a student of this. You want a guru? You know, there's a few names out there of individuals that I'll never talk bad about particular individuals in the alternative news, but there's a lot of people who are constantly willing to give you exactly what you need. You just need to, you know, do what they say and how they're always right and everything else. That's fine. That's great. The gurus are out there, lots of gurus. Take their advice, sure. All I'm saying is, why not empower everybody to be able to get this knowledge on their own? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you, you know, oh, I told you so all the time. You should have invested in this stock at this time because you would have made this much money. You lost out. You should listen to me. Click and buy this or that. All I'm trying to do is give you the foundational information, and then you keep an eye on it on your own. Anyway, I don't want to get off on the wrong track here. Essentially, I'll leave it there. It seems very clear to me when you look at these bubbles that have formed. He's talking specifically about Australia. I'm going to just fast forward here for just a moment. Home improvement. Hong Kong real estate prices tripled over the past decade. Tripled. I mean, think about that. It's housing. Housing's supposed to be stable, perhaps a slow and steady increase, and occasionally you get a few, you know, downturns. But what happened here? Barely any movement during the financial crisis, but ultimately it is a straight line upward. And if you don't believe the charts, just look at this. Look at this image, one of many that I saw. What is this? Well, you know, this is probably a lineup for the new iPhone. I mean, it could be a bread line. What is it here? It's a concert, maybe a whole bunch of people lining up to get into the concert, a sporting event. No, that's not even close. A Hong Kong new home sale site queues with over thousands of buyers. The last time it happened, 1997. Thousands of people lined up to buy homes. A new project is going up. They're going to build, you know, so many units in a particular condo. People line up, and this is just this one particular time, right? And or it's just Hong Kong, right? No. I don't know about all other cities around the world, but here in Toronto, anytime there is a new condo development, there are people waiting overnight and sometimes even longer to make sure they're the first person in line. Just like you would see with all of these ridiculous Nike shoes and all of these iPhones and everything else, people lining up. That happens for condos. I've seen it with my own eyes. Not just pictures on the internet, okay? I've seen it with my own eyes, people lining up. It's crazy. This is a bubble. This cannot be sustained. How long? I don't know. But when it comes down, it's going to come crashing down. And the government is going to step in and violate everyone's liberties in order to pump it all back up. I mean, where are you going to go with interest rates when they're near zero? Doesn't matter. I mean, let's say even at a few percent. You're going to bring them down a couple of percent. Well, you're going to run out of steam very, very quickly. You're going to have to print money. You're going to have to engage in stimulus packages. You can't keep that up. They're already still requiring all of that since the financial crisis. And on top of this, according to Bild, a German publication, Greece threatens to opt out of the next bailout payment without a debt deal. I don't know if this is going to happen. I mean, there's constantly threats going back and forth. You're not dealing with us. We're going to abandon you. You need to do this. You need to... It just goes back and forth. All I know is that Greece physically can't pay back their debt. It's not possible. So, of course, they're going to have to figure out another way. And they've been engaging in all of this asset sales, selling off their islands and airports and businesses and everything else. And ultimately, what are they going to do? I have always said, and I mentioned it in my book, that they are going to have to continue to sell every single asset they have, real assets that is, not garbage paper. They'll have to sell it all off to corporations, to these investment companies, to rich individuals, and of course they'll be selling it for pennies on the dollar. Greece is just one example. A lot of people are bored reading about Greece. Oh no, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? You're missing the point. What they're doing now isn't about, restructuring of the debt and everything else. It's about transferring real assets from these nations into the hands of individuals, the elite, whatever you want to call them. That's what this is about. And it's happening everywhere, but Greece, to a much higher level degree, I believe it will actually spread, and they're going to see a lot more of this in Europe and other places in the next round of this crisis that we're in, never left in the first place. Interconnected with that, Venezuela is obviously in a very bad situation. This is some new information that I've recently read out of Reuters. The president of Venezuela's opposition-run Congress on Monday accused Wall Street investment bank, Goldman Sachs, you may have heard of him, of aiding and abetting the country's dictatorial regime. Bold statement. I agree with it. Following a report that they had bought $2.8 billion in bonds from the cash-strapped country. Now, what's interesting about this bond purchase? Every single time, Goldman paid 31 cents on the dollar. When I see this type of information, it always makes me think of everyone's favorite Warren Buffett and all the richest of the rich. A lot of people say that you should invest like Warren Buffett, you should do what he does. And surely he occasionally gives out some great investment advice, there's no doubt about it. But when you realize that a lot of these big names, the billionaires and the big corporations and everything else, they don't pay the same rate that you and I do. They don't have to buy Bank of America, basically bailing them out, at whatever the going rate was. They get a nice discount. And that is something that people just don't get. They overlook it, or they, that's not important, this and that. Well, you can avoid certain information if you want. I've been called a cherry picker before, but, there's a lot more to look at to really just say, look, what's the situation? Is it bad? Is it good? Is it a bit of both? I think so. But let's look at all of the information and let's really be honest with ourselves and then prepare accordingly. That's all for this video here. A little bit of ranting. If you enjoyed it, if you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. Last but not least, if you found the video informative, I know you will find my books, The Money GPS and my new release, Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. If you want to flip through the books, you can do so at Amazon. They have a look inside feature that will allow you to flip through the pages of these books to see if you like them. Take care.